recording will be made available to you all through YouTube by Friday once Microsoft Teams renders the recording and all of the accompanying items. So again, if you have any questions, please add those to the chat. We will address them after we go through our walkthrough. Alrighty, so I'm going to take off my screen for efficiency on my end. Alrighty, so as always, housekeeping items. We do have a website that contains most of our training resources. We do have human resources in the project management side of the house. So if you had any questions about features or functionalities, those are available at cms.colorado.gov. As we mentioned before, this session will be recorded and will be made available through everybody through YouTube. I will share the link. And again, just a little bit of housekeeping, just make space and take space. Keep an eye on that chat. If questions have been asked and answered, just let us know when we come through your name that, yes, my question has been answered, or if clarification is needed, just let us know. We are still admitting, yes, we're still admitting users and participants. Just make sure that you mute your microphone during the meeting to prevent noise. I'm learning a lot from our friends at OIT on how to do the accessible thing. So just make sure that when you do speak, you say your name, your organization, and that type of thing. So, alrighty. So here is a very loose outline about what we're going to be covering today. My goal is to cover all of these items in the first 30 minutes. And after we walk through these items, at that point, we will open it up for questions and provide answers to questions from the participants. So if that sounds like a plan, just throw me a thumbs up in the chat and we can move over. All righty. So the first thing we want to do is to have a look. One second. Let me know if you can see my screen. All right, this is our current site. This is our cms.colorado.gov. And we did have some updates that we posted here, and we wanted to go through these because I have most of the group here with me today. So I wanted to make sure that you understand that we have training sessions every other week starting today. And these are not ending in December. These are going to continue through the end of first quarter 2024. And if we needed to continue them further, I'm happy to continue providing sessions, or we could call them open office hours or whatever you want to call them. But the invitation to communicate with us is on the table and it will always be there. A few things to update you guys on is that these staging sites will start to be put into the staging environment this Friday. And then we're going to start our production rollout on the 23rd. So you're going to be receiving a notification this week as to when your site is to move from Drupal 9 production into Drupal 10 production. And that is a schedule that the leadership team is looking at to make sure that we have everybody included and that we have enough time to give you notice. Now, before we move your site into production, we will let you know via email. Additionally, we're going to post on this website the schedule. We ask that there is a content development freeze 24 hours before your site is scheduled to go live. That's to make sure that no content gets lost and we have to redeploy your site. We don't want to do that. So I have the dev team on the call. If you have questions about this, just put them in the chat. Sunny, Dave, Alexa will be looking at the chat to make sure that all questions have been captured and answered. But again, when you get your date, say a Wednesday next week or whenever it is, 24 hours before, like you're fasting to go to the doctor, just put a content freeze right there. And then after your site has been moved into the production environment, just give us 72 hours so that we could run some QA testing. And then you could just go ahead and resume your traditional updates and uploading of files and changing images or whatever it is that you want to do on your site in Drupal 10. Does that make any sense? All right, I see heads moving. If you want to throw me a thumbs up, that's awesome. So again, this is the site that is familiar to you guys. Now to the very much awaited moment, this is what Drupal 10 looks like. And here I am authenticated. It looks pretty darn similar. Little walkthrough, this is an alert content type. This is your utility menus. You have your Google search. This is your header region where we will post your logos. This is your main navigation, which is a structural component. This section here on this landing page was built with rows and cards. So you will have the familiar ribbon for all of your features. This is a basic card with an anchor link to an external resource. This is an image, and these are the traditional icon cards that we use a lot in Drupal 9. I know a lot of sites leverage icon cards a ton. As I scroll down a little bit more, you will notice that I have an image, and then I have another icon card that links out to an Access Gov form. If you needed an Access Gov form, come and talk to us. We have those available. And then we just have the footer. And this is a landing page that was created using rows and cards. What I wanted to do today, and I'm just going to circle back to my other screen so that we're on the same page, is to show you the authenticated user view so that you could see where you could find all of your features and your functionalities. So for instance, you will notice that it says my name here. I have the ability to edit. These are my shortcuts, and I have this manage. I think some people call this a hamburger menu, but it's my little menu here will allow me to toggle. Now, again, that is true to Drupal 9, but some people, when they are viewing their site, they would just hide that secondary administrative menu. But if you click on the manage, you will then see all of the different modules that you will have access to based on your user roles. Now, since I am admin for this platform, I have some other boring things that you guys are not going to need to use at all. But you guys are mainly going to have people, if you are the entity project manager and you are managing who is on your platform, that is what you will still do in the people module. So again, it is not a frequently used module, but you will have access to the people module as you have in the past. If you are a structure administrator, you will have access to your structure module. But what we're going to focus on today is the content module. So you're just going to click on the module. And from here, you're going to be able to see the different options that you have. This is the media library. I know that this sounds like I'm talking about things that you guys already know, but it's things that we already know. And I want to be very mindful and respectful. I don't want to talk down to y'all. Y'all know Drupal 9, Drupal 10 is exactly the same for the most part. But this is your media library. Nothing has changed here. You will see that you have your file folders at the top, where you're going to have your media, and then you're going to have your layout builder library here. So this is a shortcut for you to see the layout builder library. Traditionally, what we teach you to do is kind of like the more straightforward way to do it is to just click on the content module. You will look at this pill menu and you will add content. And from there, you can select the different content types that are available. For the sake of the example, we're just going to run super quick through the basic page, and we're just going to point out that you still have this functionality here. These are the ones that are available to you. These are your WYSIWYG functions from before. Here on the right-hand side, you're going to have your publishing options. Remember, this is where you could add menu settings. If we were to do a main menu link, we will do that here. As you scroll down, you have your URL aliases. And again, I don't mean to talk down. This is stuff that is all familiar. Just wanted to make sure that we know that. Now, from your breadcrumbs, you have the ability to go back to the home page, or you could go back to the add content, which was the previous page. The landing page is the format that is the default for all of the home pages. So if you go into your landing page, again, I just hate to sound redundant, but these are your row options. These are your Jumbotron options. The display is exactly the same, so you could still decide if you wanted to have reference menus to left or to the right. What else is just clicking around? You have your revision logs, but everything remains the same. Do we have any questions added to the chat? That is correct. Now, at this point, let me see, how am I doing on time? Okay, I gotta talk quickly. Okay, let's look at layouts. I'm so sorry. Let's talk quickly. From the content, you could go into that pill menu that says add content, and this is the dialog that you will see. It will have the mandatory field, which is your title. And for this to be unique, let us say that this is 11 October 23. Here, if you needed to add some content, you can add some placeholder text right here. I'm going to get some lorem ipsum for us real quick, and I'm going to pop this here, and you have all of these features from the WYSIWYG. And this is your basic editor. So this is the body. This is very similar to rows and cards, just like you're reading a book. You will start left to right. You will start the body first, and then you have the section. So that is also true. Here you have some revision options. If there are multiple people, and this is what I used to say on the Drupal 9 training, multiple people managing the site, you can leave revision logs for when the content has been updated or when things have to change. Whatever your internal processes look like, you would do that here in your revision log. From here, you still have your menu settings. So if you wanted to add this link to a variety of different menus, all of those menus will be available to you here. And then as we scroll down, if you wanted to do weights, you could do that for those menus, but that is just a toggle off and on. You can also manipulate the alias here. This has not changed at all. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this particular page right here at the bottom, and you will see that the default is this check mark saved. So I'm going to hit save. It's going to ask me if I really want to do it. And it did it for me. So this is my sample layout for 11 October 23, and I have this green banner of success that yes, it has been created, and there is my lorem ipsum text placeholder. Had I left a revision, the revision will be available here. But one thing that to note is that we are not deleting any of the previous versions of the page. Every single page version will be saved automatically. If you wanted to delete those, then you have to manually kind of go in there and delete them. This is not different from Drupal 9. So I'm sorry if I'm boring you to tears, but it's very simple. So here is the layout. Instead of doing the edit function here that took me to my basic layout page, there is a new tab that reads layout. So by going into layout, then I could explore the different features and functionalities that are now available to me. Now, this is where things are going to look slightly different. So I'm just going to scroll down a little bit so y'all have a minute to look at it real quick. All right. Now, this container that has the dark blue border is where these sections are edited. The different parts of your site will be edited. Say that I am working on a page that already had content added onto the body of the page. I, from here, can add an additional block. And by adding a block, a dialog is going to populate on the right-hand side of my screen, and it will give me two different options. I could do a prefab basic block, a layout block, any of these, different blocks, or I could click on the block and just create a simple block. By creating the simple block, you would notice that I will have this WYSIWYG editor, and I could provide a title to the block so that the block is searched. I guess I could find it later on. When I am adding a section, though, I would do that beyond these dotted lines of this section. So if you notice, this is configuring section 1. The subsequent section will be called section 2. But you will see that just like with the accordions, we have these dashed lines that will indicate that this is the boundary for my first section. So if I wanted to add a secondary block, let me do a simple block. Let me add some text placeholder, and I'm going to save it. Now, once I save it, it's telling me that a title is required. So let me say, and there is my title. I'm going to scroll to the bottom and I'm going to save it, and it's going to stack underneath the block that was already in place. But the beauty is that I could take that block and I can move it up and down. In this instance, the language is exactly the same, but I can move it up and down, which was something that people wanted to do in the future. So that's how it's done. You see those cross hairs, those 4 directional arrows will allow you to take a block and drag it up or down or to the side. Now, what I wanted to show you real quick, because I know that I have a little time, is how to add a section. For adding the section, you're going to have on the right-hand side again, this dialog populate, and then you could decide how many columns you want on your section. Now, this is familiar to in rows and cards when we decided we wanted to have however many cards populated there. You could do that from here. So I could decide to add a number of columns, and then I could decide from this dropdown the distribution of the blocks within that section. So what this is speaking to is to the old card distribution in rows and cards. And I'm not sure if this is ringing a bell, but this is exactly what it is. It's just that the labels are different. These are just blocks within a section. So if I wanted to have a skinny chunk and then a chunkier one, that would be 33 and 67 and so forth. So this is how you will add a section. Now you will know that this is the skinny one here, and this is the chunkier one here. If I wanted to add a block, I could do the same. I can add let us add a map because you guys visited with us. And then I'm just going to add the address here. This is still powered by Google Maps, so no fear, we're not changing the back end of it. It's still going to be Google Maps, so that doesn't change. So I'm going to add the block, and there is my little block. And if you're on a mobile device, like most of our users use it from mobile, you could just tap out on your device and it will pull out Google and give you, turn by turn instructions. And I wanted to add a block here. I could do, again, a simple block. I could insert my lorem ipsum here. And I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as my title. And I am going to save that. And this is what your second section will look like. And again, this is configuration for section 2, and you have still these little dashed blue lines that are kind of defining what your section would look like. Say that I wanted to add this block maybe over here, I could do that. And then I'm not sure why I want to have a skinny on that. This is not a really good display, but just for the sake of the example, you can move the sections, the blocks within the section. So say that I want to move this one, that is a map. I wanted to move this up above. Let me see if it'll let me do it. Let me shrink my display so you can see what I'm trying to do. It moved it down. So if I take my cross arrow, I can move it up to the section above, and you will notice that this would take the width of the one single column section. So again, we created a map on a configuration for section 2. We changed our mind and we took that map and we put it in configuration for section 1. And this is a single column section, so it's displaying from boundary to boundary. And you can kind of tell because you have those little dashed blue lines that are indicating that this is now in section 1. Now down here, this was a poor choice. That doesn't look good. Let me see if I could just move this over to where it will make more sense. And then adding a block, I can add an image or something like that. So this is kind of like a little high level, a little bit of a sample of how layouts look. When you are working on layouts, you want to make sure that you save those layouts. And then when we look at our page, we will have the original single column piece of content that we added. And then we have the map, and then we have the lorem ipsum on the basic card. Does that feel good? Can I get a thumbs up from someone, maybe? Or not really? Thank you, Corey, for that. I'm going to toggle back to our agenda because I just want to make sure that I keep myself honest. We did look at the authenticated user view. We looked at the content module. We looked at adding a basic card and a landing page. We added a content type called layout. We created a layout by adding a section, then adding a block. Now, what we want to do is edit because sometimes we are all collaborating on pages that somebody else has built. And okay, hey, Cecilia, your assignment is to update the sample layout. And how do I do that? So this is how you would edit from the web view, okay? When you are authenticated, you will see this administrative pair of menus that you can always toggle up or down, but you will see that you are an authenticated user right here. From this web view, which is what we're calling it, you could go and edit the body, or you could go straight into layouts and edit. However, Some people like to go into the media library. And to access your media library, you want to go into content. And from your media library, you could sort by content type. So how we do that, and this is going to look a little bit funky because it's the same exact media library. It's just going to have an additional content type right here. So I'm going to click on layouts and I'm just going to filter my bag of results and I'm going to only get my layouts. Now the default sort is by updated the last time we've touched it, and this has not changed. So again, if I wanted to sort by all of the stuff that Cecilia has created, everything that Sunny has created, the things that Brian has created, I could do that by author, by sorting my table, or by just adding the authored name here. So, and this will further sort your list. Well, that didn't work. Barry Alfredo, I gotta look at that. It didn't like me. At any rate, making a note of that for later. But for layouts, you can filter them here, and you can either click on the hyperlink that will take you back to the page, or alternatively, you could go on the far right where the operations function is, click on edit, and from here, edit your page. And we're back where we started, where we have the edit function right here, and then we have our layouts. So again, if we are inheriting a task from someone else, this is how you will edit from the web view. Alternatively, just go into the media library, find your content, and edit. And then lastly, let's just make sure that we cover all of this. Locating a layout in the media library, editing from media, and editing from web. All right. At this point, I think we have covered all of the items that we wanted to cover. So for those who are monitoring questions, I think we're ready to take questions.
And Cecilia, I might suggest, I see Corey's got his hand up. We'll start with you, Corey, and then I think Sunny and Alexa can help walk through the questions in chat.
Thank you. Yeah, so I just have this was really helpful. Thank you so much, Cecilia and team. Yeah. It really helps us grasp. I don't want to say I have anything figured out, so I just want to ask just two quick questions. I'm sure others will help me understand things. One, so if I go search if I search pages, Cecilia, once I find that page and I open it up, I'll have on that ribbon layouts if I want to go work inside layouts, right? Mm-hmm. Okay,
that
cool.
That is correct.
So I can do a little old school thought process with my new school thought process. Okay, all right. So that's kind of how I got to start thinking about this. And then here's a dumb question, or I'm really busy, or maybe I'm lazy. So if I'm going to go move everything to layouts, that's great. Can I take content from my current D9 and just copy it and paste it into that new layout block? Or do I have to rebuild all the headers and all that jazz, Cecilia?
So this is what I did when I was doing this is a very popular page we have, like all of the the complete list of websites, right? Mm-hmm. So I just went and I took my source and I copied this puppy.
Okay.
All of it. And then I took it here into layouts. And then I popped it in here when I configured this block.
So, okay, so you're saying we can grab source content from a row or from a card and place that?
Yes, sir, but not at the page level. So not all of the page, but if it is within, so in this specific case.
In the layout, you're saying, is that correct? I'm sorry if I misunderstood you.
So what I did is, because on this basic page and this card, in this basic card, I grabbed my source and I pasted over into layouts in a block. It's not the entire, it's not going to be the whole rows and cards, the whole page, but that particular container, I took the entire accordion with all of the links and all of the beautiful stuff, and I took that and I put it over into layouts. Does that answer?
I think so. But I'm just gonna, to answer your question, Seal, I'm just gonna say, Trish, does that answer my question? I'm just not as smart. I just want to see if that's
Yeah.
what trick. Okay.
Yeah, that helps a lot. But my only question on this then is we don't use the WYSIWYG accordions because they're not accessible. So what do the accordion rows look like transferring over?
I think that is a question that the devs will need to take for me.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Oh, and I'll stop. Okay, I'll take that hand up.
Hey, this is Barry. So yes, the row accordions will eventually go away once things get migrated to layout. So we'll be in the process to, yes, let me back up. It is a known that the CK editor accordions are not accessible, but we are working those into our rollout for Drupal 10. I don't know when, but they will be accessible for prime time when all sites go out to production. I can't say a date, but I know that the end of life for Drupal 10.9 is the end of November, so it'll be after that. I don't have a specific date, but those are on our radar.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
thank you.
Thanks. And that just means, Barry, that if we are using rows and cards, accordion rows, we would then in the layout use the WYSIWYG to create the accordion structure and place that. Thanks, Cecilia. Yeah, you know where I was going with that. Okay, thank you so much. So there's some
Absolutely.
places where it's going to be a simple copy and paste, and there might be a few situations where we'll have to kind of reset something up because we'll be, transitioning. But that sounds like it still helps significantly. Thank you.
And I am here to support you with moving over accordions from your current Drupal 9 layout with rows and cards into your layout CK editor accordion. So we can always sidebar. I think you still have a link to my availability. So when the time comes, Corey, use that link and we could connect Trish, you and I, and just do a little ¿cómo se dice? Workshop session. Sorry, I need more coffee. To work through those accordions and move them over. I think there's another. Scott has a hand up. Did we lose Scott?
1 second. Good morning. Can you all hear me?
Good morning, Scott. We can hear you.
All right. I couldn't find my mic icon, so it took me a second here. So I'm hoping just to verify a couple of things, and I don't want to throw, monkey wrenches into stuff. So I apologize ahead of time if I do. But just to clarify, so the idea of moving old, previously created content in the rows and cards into the new thing, to what we should remember is, if it's just a basic page, the entire page is just a basic page, there are no rows and cards involved, we can go to the source, copy that whole thing over, and just make another basic page. But if we have multiple rows with different cards, etc., then we have to move those over individually per card, per row, and not the entire page, multiple rows and cards at the same time. Is that kind of the idea? We would have to copy and paste the content within each particular row and card and move it over instead of taking the whole thing.
Yes, because those so it's a different structure. So paragraphs, rows, and cards, whenever the time and date comes that they will be deprecated or that they will no longer be, we will have a way to reinterpret that called sections and blocks. So because they're different, so it's not an apple for an apple or an apple for a pineapple, but we have a way to reinterpret that content with the sections and the blocks.
Right. It just has to be brought over block at a time.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. And the second one, and I always feel compelled to say this, and I know everybody's really working hard on making accordions more accessible. This may be something we should maybe ask about in one of our Thursday, maybe tomorrow, or one of our Thursday open tap team hour meetings. I just wanted to kind of put out there for everybody that even if there's code that helps make accordions more accessible for screen readers, etc., there are still inherent accessibility issues using rows just from the physical point of view that I don't think any kind of coding will fix. So it's just something to keep in mind if you have a page that you're looking to do rows, or rather accordions, to consider all aspects of accessibility when you use those. So I just wanted to put that out there because I don't want anybody to have problems in the future.
Thank you so much, Scott. Okay, so to my helpers who are taking notes on questions from the chat, do we see a hand up? 1 second.
Yes, Cecilia, we
Yeah.
do have some questions from the chat if we want to go through those real quick.
Okay, awesome, go for it.
I can go ahead and read those off. Sorry, my cat is being talking all over the place. So from Lauren, we have a handful of questions. One of them starting with, can we still have our sites added to your staging environment to try this out for the rollout? I believe the answer to that. Actually, Cecilia, can you speak on that?
Yeah, absolutely. We have, I think it's 5 cards, 5 people who have reached out to me by email or through the partner support, and I've been combing it. And we have that task for Friday this week, to make sure that sites that were requested to have a kind of like a sandbox. It doesn't mean that the content that goes into stage will be moved up to prod, but it gives you the ability to kind of kick the tires and look at it. So DOLA is on the list, SIPA is on the list, Energy, is Ari on the call? Is on the list, DPA is on the list. So we're gonna go ahead and put those sites in stage so that you could get your hands on layouts and look at it. But yeah, I don't know where the no came from. That is a for sure. We will put if you send a ticket, just let me know. I gave those tickets to the development team and they're already queued to go this Friday. Does that answer?
Yes, I'll put in a ticket to do that. Thank you.
Awesome.
Hey, Cecilia, just real quick, while you're on that subject, can you just reiterate what you said about content there? I want to make sure everybody's aware of, the intent of using the D10 staging environment is really to get to know it, to understand it. But since the production deployment is scheduled for pretty soon now, to start at the end of October, we're really recommending it's for that. It's not to build content that will go to your D10 prod site. We will be bringing that over from your D9 site, but rather to go in there and play and get to know it ahead of time. If that's a problem or different from what your expectation is, we can, communicate with you and talk with you offline.
Yeah, absolutely. And I could just back up a little bit because maybe I just spoke too quickly. So what happens is that the intent for this process is that all of your sites as they are today in the Drupal 9 environment will be taken from the production environment and they will be migrated over. They were going to take those database and they're going to upload those up to the Drupal 10 now that the upgrade is done. Now we're ready to start moving those sites starting on the week of the 23rd. I have already developed a schedule. We're confirming that schedule with leadership to make sure that we have this all lined up, and that schedule will be sent to you no later. I'm thinking if I could get some time with leadership this week, you're going to get it tomorrow or the day after. When you get your date, if you don't like the date, you send me an email. Hey, Cecilia, I don't like this date, and I will move those dates to make sure that the rollout schedule is plumb. Once you get your date, like Alfredo says, just like when you go to the doctor, you're going to content freeze 24 hours before your surgery date, right? You're moving to 10 date. And then you're going to freeze content 72 hours after. Now, the intention is that when you do get your site on stage, is that is the place in which you are learning layouts and you're just looking at it. But the content that is in Drupal 10 stage is not going to sync up to Drupal prod 10, Drupal 10 prod. That's a different workflow. We will place you in stage. You could get to play with it. And whenever, until the date that your Drupal 9 prod moves to Drupal 10 prod. There will be training and support sessions bi-weekly to continue to have conversations as you are playing in your site. But yes, on Friday, those sites will go to the staging environment for sandbox purposes only, not for content creation or moving stuff around. That is not going to sync up to prod. I hope that answers the question. Is that what you were looking for, sir? Dave?
I think you might be answering my question. My question was about the 72 hours after. It sounded like there might be a downtime of about a week where we cannot edit our live site. And that's what I'm trying to ask is, are we really down for a week? Because we'll need to tell our businesses if it's 3 days after, or can we edit once it's live? Can we truly go make updates and start pushing new content for people?
The 72 hours is more for our quality assurance and risk assessment for our business analyst team to make sure that we can run smoke tests, that we can run regression testing. But if you freeze your content 24 hours before, so say that your date is the 25th of October, 24 hours before, we're asking that you pause your content creation so that when we move everything as it is in your production environment, we'll move to production environment in 10. Alfredo, I know you're very eloquent. If you have a way to better explain this, please jump in. But the 72 hours is for us to have reaction time to do some, just compare the site, make sure that I could go in there and see that your homepage is there, that your menus are working.
So if I can just jump in here.
Sure.
When we take your database of your content, we just want a couple days with it. Of course, as Cecilia said, to quality assurance, check everything. But your live site still remains in your, you can still edit it. So you can still make updates to your live site. Those changes that you are making for 72 hours while we're upgrading your site to D10, though, those ones will need to be brought in manually to the D10 site. So what we're saying is like, give us a date, we'll take all your content and move it to D10, and your site is still live. You can still make edits and updates for your clients and partners. So there shouldn't be any stoppage point at all. When you're ready to move on to D10, we can assist in getting that content to the D10 environment, or by then you might be able to do it yourself if you like, but there shouldn't be any stoppage. You know what I mean? Hopefully that makes sense.
Thank you.
Okay. Do you mind muting your mics?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have additional questions from the list? I think Sunny and Alexa. Sunny, do you want to go top to bottom? Are there additional questions for us?
Yeah, one moment. And this is from Danielle. Do we have to title every section in layouts? And if yes, why?
That's a devs. I don't. Do you want to
You
take
don't
that
have
one,
to
Barry?
give it a title. If
And no, you don't have to.
if you don't,
mean-
it'll just label it by number, like section 1, 2, 3.
Perfect.
Thanks, Amanda.
I have a question. I'm not sure if this is, you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, sorry, I've put in a hand and a text, but anyway, I think I must have missed a boat here somewhere, but going way back to when Corey was asking his question around copying content and putting it into the new layout view, I was under the impression we're not moving any content, so I'm not sure how all that discussion got started or what we need to do. I'm kind of lost on that now.
Yes, and I totally understand, Jeff. So let us just be clear. With the upgrade, there is no action needed. We just have a new content type called layout that if you want to leverage that content type, a lot of people are eager. We have had a few sites ask to have their site put into the staging environment for Drupal 10 so that they could get to, figure out how this whole layout thing shakes out. But there is no action needed of you in the context of this Drupal 10 upgrade. As we showed, the rows and cards are still available, and you can still create content using rows and cards, right? The
Right.
new feature is layout, and if you wanted to leverage that feature, you could just,
You can't.
once your site is in prod, you can start to create content that is new, or if you have content that is pressing that you want to take it away from rows and cards, you can start to move that content over to the new content type.
So totally optional.
At this point, yes.
Yes.
It is totally
Okay.
optional. I would like for you to just have a little look at your site, and if you wanted to schedule a time and date with me to kind of explore and see what things will look like for your particular agency, I am more than happy to go and say, hey, this
Yeah.
looks like we can move everything slowly, or whatever the case is. There is an availability link. If you need it, shoot an email to partner support and I will send it to you, and we can have a little exploration combo, you and I.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Right on. Who's next?
Carrie has her hand up.
Hi, everyone. This is Carrie Ungama from OEdit, and I think that answered my question, but I just, I guess, really want to clarify So everything is going to move over, right? So like, so we could potentially do nothing, and then we will be on Drupal 10, but we will have time to be able to go in and see if there are things that aren't coming over properly or those sorts of things. Is that where we're at?
Yes, ma'am. So nice to
Okay.
see you, Carrie. Yes, everything. I mean, the heavy lifting was to make sure that all of the modules that are even not going to be supported when Drupal 9 goes, that's the hard work that the amazing Drupal team did. They built everything so that you have rows and cards in Drupal 10. So the features have not been deprecated. They're there. There is no action for you with the Drupal 10 upgrade. All the content would just slide over. Whoops. And if you and team needed to do a session, same thing. The offer's on the table. Just I'll send you the link for my availability, and we could go over and have a look.
Great. Thank you for that clarification, Cecilia.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trisha also has her hand up.
Hi, okay, so sorry to press the accordion row issue. I understand that all content moves over. So how are accordion rows handled, or is that something I need to address during that 72-hour window?
No. Okay, Barry, could you speak to the accordion row again?
So the rows and cards are being moved over, right? So that's the row accordions. So they're not going away
Okay.
anytime
All right.
soon. Okay, we're going to give you time to move content blocks or cards into the new sections and cards. But there's no, we don't have a timeline on when rows and cards are going to be like gone.
Okay,
So
that
we're
makes
still,
sense.
we'll
I've got
we
a few months to move accordions to WYSIWYG accordions or whatever, right? Several months.
yeah,
Okay.
we don't have a time frame on
Yeah.
when that they're going
Okay.
to be deprecated.
Sorry, I
Or
misunderstood that.
No,
that's okay.
you're totally fine. And again, Trisha, if you wanted to just, hey, Cecilia, I have 20 or 12 or 2 or however many you have, just let me know. We will set up a meeting, you and I and Corey or whomever, and we will move them over.
Fantastic. Okay, one last question. I just have a few dozen clients that this impacts.
Mhm.
Are they all being notified? They're the smaller entities, or is this a
Oh, yeah.
focus on larger entities? Do I need to say anything yet or not panic them?
No need to panic anyone. Again, because there is a mitigation in place, I can definitely go grab the content and move it for them. And that's the reason why you and I meeting, since you manage all of those small special districts, is crucial. So just give me the same way that we have been adding the Google Translate on each one of your sites, we could do the same approach. We could just roll them one at a time and say, Cecilia, there's an accordion here. It needs to be moved over here. Just place the ticket and we'll knock it out.
Fantastic. Thank you. I really appreciate all your help on this.
Yeah. Whom else? I think there's
I
a
just-
hand.
Can
Go
I
ahead.
just jump in real quick? I just
Yeah.
want to jump in as far as like the transition from rows and cards. It'll probably be at least 12 months. It won't be like 3 months. It'll be a lot longer. So it'll give you time to get familiar with layouts and have the time and the resources to start moving your information over, and your content and your cards over to the new sections in Layout Builder. If that helps answer many questions or concerns. Thank you.
I see Jeff's hand is still raised. Did you have another question?
No, sorry, I just didn't take that
It's
off.
just no worries. It's just Philip. That's okay.
Yeah.
Also, this is from Francie. Would Saturday and Sunday be included in the 72 hours post D10 quality assurance timeline, or are these 72 hours only during business days?
Alfredo, you want to answer? It's just to allow us time to kick the tires and make sure that everything is okay. So we're not hoping to. We don't tend to do deployments on Fridays. So more than likely it's a Monday, Wednesday type of thing so that we could build that in. But I do not think that Saturday and Sundays are included in this. That's not how I am scheduling things. So hopefully that
Right.
alleviates.
And like I said, the your D9 site on prod, you can still access it and update it. We're just
Mhm.
saying that that content that you update during that 72 hours will need to manually be placed into your D10 site because it would have not made the upgrade on that 24-hour cutoff that we have. So
Mhm.
I see Carrie's hand is back up.
Yeah, thank you. And Barry, you were addressing this, but so I'm assuming at some point in the future, there will have to be a migration from rows and cards to layouts. Is that accurate?
Yes, that is accurate.
Okay,
Yeah, and if I could just jump in, Carrie, I think, and this has
please.
come up in other meetings too, you know, to Barry's point, this is something that we have is not imminent. It's not tied to the D10 migration or upgrade. So we're really trying to be clear that, you know, for the upgrade to be ready for it, as we were just saying to Tricia, you don't really have to do anything. We want people to be aware of the functionality in D10 and be able to start using it. But as it relates to rows and cards and its potential deprecation and going away, that's going to be something that we will be planning and scoping, probably starting in December internally, you know, just trying to lay that out and be able to come back to the broader Colorado Drupal community and say, here's what this looks like for a timeline, for what's expected. And then also we have our work cut out for us as well. I'm not making any kind of miracle promises, but there's a number of things I think we need to do to investigate how we can use technology to try to make that as easy as possible. And so I'm effectively a long-winded way of saying I'm putting a little bit of a pin in it. Yes, it will be going away. Yes, at this time it does mean actually moving content from rows and cards to layouts. We do not have a time frame for it. We 100% acknowledge how much work that could potentially be for folks. And so we have planning scheduled for December and into January to start being able to help everybody understand what that's going to look like and take into the feedback that we've been collecting, you know, on that process. So I'm optimistic that we can, you know, find a way to make that as burdensome, at least a little burdensome as possible. But for right now, we're just laser focused on D10 upgrade.
Got it. Okay. So I got there's a pin in it, but we're going to try to find some sort of process where everyone on this call isn't copying and pasting every single page of every single site into a thing, that there'll be some sort of script that can help or something. So there are investigations in that space.
Investigation's the right word, right? Because I don't want to make dangerous promises, but I think what you're denoting, Carrie, is right, as folks are saying, hey, I need to understand what that burden could mean for me and my team, what it could mean to actually move content on that level and that detail. And that's not something that's slight. So investigations, planning, scheduling, sufficient time frame, and support are all things that we'll be shifting our focus to after the D10 upgrade to help plan that out.
Got it. Thank you so much. Just, I know you're completely aware, but you know, some of these sites are quite gigantic, and if we're copying and pasting from, you know, it's like, I don't even know, probably like 4 people full time for a full year to copy and paste everything, which is not like an awesome use of resources. So awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Carrie. Appreciate that.
Yep, thank you. I appreciate it.
Alexa and Sunny, do you see any additional hands up or chatter questions that we have not addressed?
I don't see any hands up, but a question that I haven't seen addressed: what happens at the end of the transition if something is still in rows and cards? So I believe that's probably post layout transition. If something is still in rows and cards and was not moved to layout, what happens to the content within rows and cards? Becky, if that's not the correct meaning of your question and you want to jump in, just let me know. But I think that's what you're saying.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. So At the end of all of this, like in whatever date in the future, what happens to the content that, for whatever reason, didn't make it into layouts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something we'll be able to shed light on and include in our information as we shift to planning that change for Drupal users and be able to prepare people for what will happen at that future date if content is left in rows and cards at the time which is deprecated. But again, focused on D10 upgrade and knowing that that's not imminent. It's not something that I have an answer for you right now, nor is it anything that I think our users need to be worried about right now in October of 2023. It's a great question, Becky. I get it. I'm just saying I think that's something that we'll include in the planning. But as that's not imminent, I want to keep people focused on just where we are for D10 upgrade. And then once we come back and provide that planning and outlook, we'll be able to address that 100%. It's necessary to be addressed in that part of a change to the Drupal platform.
All righty. Thank you for that. We have 8 minutes before the end of our time today. I just put up, I don't know if y'all can see my screen. I hope you do. But if you have any questions, any feedback, the good, the bad, the ugly, just go ahead and shoot us an email at partnersupport@www.colorado.gov. If you needed to do a one-on-one, I know that CDPHE has taken us on that offer. If you need to do a one-on-one training, just again, send us partner support. I will send you a link to availability and we could have a one-on-one training. If there are additional people in your organization that you want to train that cannot attend these scheduled hours, just to circle back, these are bi-weekly sessions. They will happen bi-weekly from now until the end of first quarter next year or until the interest tapers. But again, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us today. We will do this all over again in 2 weeks, and I have made this a reoccurring event. So you just have to click on the invite on your calendar, and we would just go over this again if you need to. Is there anything from the group? Is there anything from Tyler, Colorado leadership that we are missing? I know Alexa, Kate, you guys are here. If there's anything that you need to, say to the group or anything for me. And
Nope.
then
Thank you.
well, thank you so much for being here. I know you guys are super busy, but from the users, is there any final requests before we call it? Any comments, feedback? Ooh, well, thank you so much to the Drupal team for being present at this meeting. Thank you so much for Tyler leadership, and more importantly, thank you for the users for being here. I will see you guys in 2 weeks, and don't be shy. Send us a message through partner support and I'll get back to you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.